Hello, and welcome to another episode of r/AmITheA. We have baby Jesus here, his name's Trousers. I'd like you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and get ready for another episode of r/AmITheA. Let's go. Posted by user ThrowRA Adoption, titled, Am I the a-hole for changing my mind and not letting a couple adopt my baby? So my 29 female husband died unexpectedly a few months ago. I was obviously devastated and still am. I didn't eat much for a while and didn't really keep track of anything, so at first I didn't realize that I didn't get my period. Well, I was pregnant. Having lost my husband and being alone and a mess, I didn't think I could give this baby what it deserves and decided to give it to a loving family. I got matched with a lovely couple. Apparently, they've tried to adopt before, but it fell through, so they made me promise I wouldn't change my mind. I promised, which was stupid. I can see that now. I gave birth to my son 2 days ago, and honestly, the moment I heard him cry, I knew I couldn't give him up. He is my and my husband's flesh and blood. I swear to God he has my husband's dimples. I just can't give him away. I feel so horrible. When I told the couple, they both started crying and asked me to think about it. They've already prepared everything for my son's arrival. They came to the hospital with a car seat, and they would be great parents. The woman sent me a long message how she really hopes I'll change my mind, and that they're approaching 40, and this might be their last chance to adopt a baby. It's just all around heartbreaking. But I can feel that my baby belongs with me. I am financially comfortable, and both my parents and my husband's parents will be wonderful grandparents. They want to be involved, and are willing to help with babysitting. Would I be the asshole if I kept my baby, despite promising that I wouldn't change my mind? As hard as that situation is, I feel like this is a no a-holes here decision. You're not particularly doing the wrong thing, they are not particularly doing the wrong thing to, ask you to please reconsider and please let them adopt the baby. There's so much heartbreak and sadness going around here, and if you want to keep your baby, I feel like you should be able to keep your baby. Yeah, it's absolutely going to crush them, but at the end of the day, they can't force you to hand over your child. And I feel like you really do have to look after yourself in this situation. As much as that sucks, I feel like in your gut, you kind of know it's what you have to do. So I'm going no a-holes here for this one. Now in the comments, regardless of what the internet says, if you want to keep your baby, keep your baby. There's always a risk a mother will change her mind, and they understood that going in. Good luck. No a-holes here. This couple should have known better than to make concrete plans with a recent widow, and the adoption agency seems somewhat irresponsible here. Agree, but I can at least understand why the couple did so. They are desperate and not thinking completely rationally either. I think you hit the nail on the head that the adoption agency was the party that dropped the ball the most here. This situation was entirely foreseeable. I would not have definitively matched grieving OP with a family until after delivery, and kept all communication exclusively through the agency. It's awful all the way around, but happy for OP's decision. This sounds like a very unethical situation all around. OP does not owe this couple a baby, and the emotional manipulation from them is horrendous. A good agency makes it clear to the hopeful adoptive parents that they are just that. Hopeful. The expectant mother is the baby's mother until the papers are signed and finalized. Until then, it is 100% her choice to decide to parent the baby and should not be made to feel guilty for that choice. OP 100% not the a-hole. I don't think it's horrendous. They've already had one adoption fall through. I think it's understandable that they're upset and wanting to do everything possible to not lose another baby. I think it's horrendous to emotionally manipulate a grieving widow into making promises to hand over their child. J. Crane says, no a-holes here. Of course they're disappointed, but this is always a possible outcome for adoption. My heart breaks for all of you, but no, you are not doing anything wrong. Congrats on your little one. Yeah, this was a major F-up by the adoption agency. The chances OP wouldn't immediately fall in love with a baby she made with her passed-away husband were astronomical. I'd be shocked if she went through with the adoption. OP, do not feel bad. It was very unfair of this couple to demand such a promise from you, especially with the circumstances surrounding your baby's conception. You made a promise without understanding the emotions and feelings of the reality that came with your baby's birth, and that's not your fault. I really do hope you're able to move forward with your decision to keep your baby without guilt towards this couple. I hope you and your baby find happiness and blessings as you live your lives together, and that you find comfort knowing your baby is a piece of your husband still living and breathing. Good luck and live well, Mama Bear. Our next post is by user Barclay/Jusritqua, titled, Am I the a-hole for revealing our net worth when my wife constantly says we're broke and making me look bad with money? So I, 31 male, have been with my wife, 30 female, for 10 years now, and she always has had this habit of making me look bad with our finances. Whenever anything regarding spending money comes up, she'll always say how broke we are, and she doesn't have the money to do this or buy that. The thing is, we're doing well financially. We have decent jobs, and combined, our salary is roughly $125K a year. As of today, our net worth is more than $1 million, but less than $2 million. I had saved/invested a lot before getting married, so I gave us a good head start. I control the finances and take the lead, but we both agreed to living a very modest life. We both have our cars from college, for example, Honda and Toyota. She knows everything about our finances because at least once a month I go over it with her every time I deposit money into our investments account or our kids' college funds. For banking, we have an emergency fund, and I budget everything else to go straight into investments. We basically stay right at $10K in our bank's savings account and $500 in our checking account after bills. Edit. Most of the time there is more than $500 in our checkings, but once I pay our CC each month, I then move anything extra. We always use the CC, so it's not like we only have $500 to spend. Our CC limit is $25,000. A few months ago, we had dinner with her friends, and they talked about buying a new car. My wife said something like, I wish I could get a new car, but I'm always broke after paying the bills. We still have our college cars. Edit, wife does not want a new car. She'll go on to talk about if she had money, what she would want to buy, and it always makes me feel ashamed. This I'm broke story has been happening for years. When we were driving home, I asked her about it. She understood we have the money, but it's how she feels because her bank account is always low. I said I can increase our budget or keep more money in our bank if she wants. Since we're doing well, I'm okay with spending more. She said no, and again was happy with our finances. I explained that when she says we're broke, it makes me look bad, and I feel ashamed. It's as though I can't provide for the family, and/or I'm bad with money. She doesn't see it that way. The same conversation has come up numerous times about us being broke. Recently, I reminded her numerous times it makes me feel bad and look bad in front of friends and family. I told her if she keeps saying stuff like that, I will reveal that we're doing well with money. I gave her a few reminders I'd eventually do this, but she kept going with the I'm broke story. So at a dinner with her sister and parents, the same I'm broke story came up. I piped in and said, it's weird to hear a millionaire say they're broke. My wife said, haha, I'm not though. And I quickly say, we're millionaires and you know that. We go over our finances every month. Well, the I'm broke story stopped after that and the night went on as usual. A little later, the same thing happens with her friends and I use the same line. Now my wife is mad at me for using that line and revealing how much money we have. She said it seems like I'm gloating. I say it's better than making me look like I'm running us into the ground financially. So am I the a-hole for revealing our net worth when my wife says we're broke? No, not at all. She doesn't care about your feelings when she's telling these stories to your friends and family, so why should you care about hers when you reveal her lie, and the continuous string of lies she's been telling over the years to these people? Sure, it's not classy, it's not great to reveal your net worth to people, it's not something they have to know, and if you don't find it classy, you don't find it something you need to share, it's absolutely your right to keep it to yourself. But her trying to garner sympathy and paint you in a bad light, even though in private she says she doesn't mean it, but then she continuously shits on you to her friends and family? That's just not acceptable. And you honestly gave her plenty of time. You gave her so much time to right that wrong, so many different chances, and she continued with the story. It's like she can't stop playing the same song on repeat, no matter if it kills her or not. So no, you're not the a-hole for outing her lie. She sucks for not caring about your feelings and how her words hurt you, so you're firing back in a justified way, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Macaroni Rascal 42 says, not the a-hole. She was dismissive of your feelings and was constantly lying to people around her. It's a classic case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This, if she doesn't want it continually mentioned, she needs to stop crying poverty. It's pretty simple. Yes, I grew up fairly poor, since my mum was a single mum raising 3 kids. Seriously, we were poor. We were homeless for a bit a few times, and I thought it was a summer where we ate only ramen, chicken salad, and water. But apparently it was a few years, and we lived with my grandparents for a while. But they were super toxic, especially to my mum, so we got out of there. She now has a boyfriend, who's a pretty nice guy, and his daughters are extremely crappy. They always complain about being broke when he has the ability to live nicely but go way above her means, and the other constantly has thousands in her bank account, but is too stingy to spend it. Seriously, she'll worm her way into getting you to pay, and if you don't, she won't go. It's one of my pet peeves when people complain avidly about being broke when they aren't, because I've been there and it isn't fun. Not the a-hole. It's very weird that your wife feels the need to constantly downplay and pretend that she's poor. What about all the people who are actually struggling? Very weird, and a crappy thing for your wife to do. It's good that you called her out on it. Indeed, you asked her to stop, but apparently she didn't care, and then she's angry that you tell everyone that you're not broke. OP's wife is definitely in this for the attention that it gives her. Info. Why does she downplay your combined wealth? Is she worried her family will ask for financial assistance? Is the crack about her college car because she's sick of using an old car, but doesn't think you'll agree to buying a new one? And why do you feel like it's specifically calling you out? Is she saying you're not earning enough or that you're spending all the money? I feel like there's something going on that you haven't told us. OP doesn't answer that, but Storm Dance replies, it's possible that she's just frustrated with the results of her budgeting. I'm in a similar scenario. I've got a job with a decent salary, not anywhere near OP's, but I don't have to worry about starving anytime soon. Right now, I'm taking the opportunity to save as much as possible for the future, and it sucks to have limited spending money even when I, hopefully, will be better off when I retire thanks to aggressive savings early on. But because it's my choice, I don't complain about not having spending money because I'm choosing to save it. And that, I think, is where OP's wife is missing a step. It's like being grumpy because you're on a diet. It might be reasonable to be grumpy because you're hungry, but it's a-hole behavior to take it out on people around you. And Broad Elderberry says, everyone sucks here. Paychecks, politics, prayers, the 3 forbidden dinner conversations. It sounds like your wife falls back on the I'm broke line to cover her insecurities of not keeping up with her social circle. And I get that you're not pleased with her comments, but having an argument about your finances in mixed company is just kinda classless. No one needs to know how much money you make or don't make. It's weird that you think her comments make you look bad, since you both work, and it doesn't seem like it's common knowledge that you manage the finances. I mean, if someone's wife tells me we're broke, My first thought isn't, oh, it must be the husband, he's bad at money. That, I think, is your own insecurity. Our next post is by user Least Recognition 563, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's children why I treat them different from my nibblings? Throwaway account. So I, 47 male, need some perspective from people outside of the family, and was recommended this place. So here's the story. Over 20 years ago, I found out that my brother, Joe, 45 male, was sleeping with my then fiancée, Kelly, 47 female. I literally caught them in my bed when I came home early, and I did not respond well. My brother and ex apologized and begged for forgiveness, but I wanted nothing to do with them. A couple of months later, Kelly found out that she was pregnant and admitted she didn't know who the father was. So, we took a DNA test when her child Amy, 23 female, was born. Joe was the dad, and because of that, my parents decided to forgive Joe because they wanted to be involved with their first grandchild. A part of me was hurt, but I didn't blame them, and only asked that they respect that Joe was dead to me. Eventually, I married my wife, Jane, 45, and we've created a great life for ourselves. Joe has tried reconciliation and was denied every time. He wasn't invited to my wedding, he had to hear about the birth of my children from people, he was never welcome at my home, and the only time we were in a shared space was for funerals of mutual relatives, and I avoided or tuned him out. A consequence of this was that I wasn't involved in the lives of his children, Amy, Junior, Val, or Tim. My parents have never asked me to be present in the children's lives, but have talked about them numerous times, and I can tell that they want me to be involved with them because they see how good I am to my nibblings on my wife's side. I have a small but lucrative business and set up college funds for each of them, take them on big family vacations. For example, Disney World, Hawaii, Argentina, etc. Attended almost every special event, birthday and graduation, and agreed to be their guardians if my sister-in-law, wife's sister, or brother-in-law, wife's brother, were unable to. I guess the lack of attention and financial support is starting to get to Joe's children, because 3/4 of them have asked why I'm not a part of their lives or seem to care about them. I explained that while I don't hate them, I don't really feel a familial connection, but it's not their fault. I was surprised when they asked why, because I thought, since all of them were either adults or almost an adult, that they would finally be told the truth. I told them what went down between their father and I all those years ago, and how there was no way I could be as attentive of an uncle to them without re-establishing some kind of contact with Joe. That was not something that I was willing to do. I didn't hear from them, but about a week later, I got an angry call from my mum saying that Joe's children are all upset with Joe for getting cheated out of a better life. My mum said that I should have told her or my dad before telling them the truth, and how Amy's siblings are also blaming her too. It wasn't my intention to start a fight. I was just being honest without thinking about it. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add, forgot to mention this earlier, but Amy is Joe and Kelly's only child together. Junior, Val, and Tim have a different mother. Edit to add too, from my understanding, all that was told to the children was that Joe and I got into a huge fight years ago and that I refused to accept his apology. They were fishing for more information and didn't understand what could have happened that was so bad that I refused to even speak to his children if it wasn't illegal. Edit to add 3, I keep seeing the same and similar questions, so we'll explain further. 1. My parents don't know about the college fund, so there's no way they could have told Joe or his children. 2. When Joe's children reached out, they said that they saw pictures of me with my family for special events, birthdays, vacations, and other things, and wondered why I wouldn't do those things with them. 3. I stopped hating Joe years ago, but that doesn't mean I love or trust him again and never want him in my life for any reason. 4. I'm open to having a relationship with Joe's children if they want, but it'll have to be without their father being involved in any way. something that would not have been possible while they were growing up because they were all minors. And 5, Kelly and Joe were never romantically involved and said that what they did was just physical and it resulted in a child. Honestly, since you made it clear that they just want to know why you aren't a part of their lives and aren't asking for money from you, I'm going no a-holes here for this one. You're well within your rights to keep as much distance between you and your brother as possible, but unfortunately in the process, that's kinda hurt your other nibblings that could potentially have a relationship with you. I blame their family for not telling them the real truth. Obviously, it's best to wait till they're of age so they can process and handle the information in a more balanced way, but for that family to cover the story up for so long, that's their fault. You did what you had to do to keep away from your brother here, and I can respect it. So yeah, no a-holes here. Now in the comments, Rapture189 says, "Not the a-hole. Joe and Amy need to grow the F up and put their egos aside for the sake of the kids. They need to tell the truth, the whole truth, and face the consequences of their actions. If their kids resent them for what they did, then they have to live with that. You don't get to cheat on your brother or fiancé without consequences. F that." Super unpopular here, but I'm leaning towards you're the a-hole. Cheating usually occurs when needs aren't met. Jesus Christ, are you projecting? I don't know your situation, but maybe you should take a look in the mirror and realize that your former relationship might not have been as happy as you thought. If it's been 20 years, I understand being hurt by your brother, but Jesus, Kelly isn't even in the picture, I think. You don't have to see her at family functions constantly. It's not shoved in your face, and ultimately, your anger with your brother was felt by children that had nothing to do with it. And OP replies, "It's not anger anymore. It's more indifference, lack of interest, and slight annoyance. I don't hate Joe anymore, but that doesn't mean I love and trust him again. That's why I want him away from my life. To me, he has no value that would be worth the risk of him betraying me again." I'm really not understanding why you're taking, or took, out your frustration on your nieces and nephews. Your brother and former fiancé screwed up, not the kids. I think you're the a-hole here, but a soft a-hole. It's honestly kinda crappy for the kids, and I'm not talking about the money. You alienated them out of spite, which, as an adult, is kinda sad. And OP replies, "It's not frustration or spite, more like lack in drive or want. I had already decided to cut Joe out of my life before any of his children were born, and the feeling didn't change after they came into the world either. Your brother betrayed you, and you used that to cheat yourself out of a relationship with your nephews and nieces. In the end, you have punished yourself as well as your brother and your entirely innocent nephews and nieces." And OP replies, "I don't really see my lack of relationship with Joe's children as a punishment to me, and Kelly has brothers, so it's not like they don't have uncles. No a-holes here, the kids or you. Joe and the affair partner are the a-hole for sure. Personally, I think you should talk to the kids and tell them to lay off Amy. Tell them even if she wasn't born, their father and your ex betrayed you, and that's who they need to be angry with. Beyond that, you can tell them if they want a relationship with you, set down some rules. 1. You will not interact with their father. Betrayal of personal info to their father will be grounds for breaking contact. 2. The relationship is new, and they will not automatically be the same as your other nibblings. You will not tolerate demands for money or entitlement. You are becoming family for the first time. And 3. It's worth repeating. You are not an ATM. They are not entitled to lost time money. Good luck." And OP replies, "Good suggestions." Posted by user A3CW478338. Titled, "Am I the a-hole for kicking my mum out for calling my wedding a joke?" Hi, I'm a 22-year-old female and I got married to my husband 2 weeks ago. He's my soulmate. I found him, finally. After years of suffering between my dad's death and mum's marriage and having little support, he came along. He's so amazing, so compassionate, sweet, and smart. He's in a wheelchair, which isn't an issue, but I got negative remarks from people questioning the seriousness of our relationship. Oh, you're too young. That's probably not real love. Or, you've only known him for barely 2 years. Are you sure you're willing to live like this for the next at least 10 years? We decided to have a small wedding. Our parents helped with money, my mum invited my stepdad's family, and stressed a lot about issues. My husband said he had a surprise for our wedding. I was keeping my eyes shut, then I opened them, and I saw that he made a tree swing, with chains and a tire. He was sitting in it with his feet slightly off the ground and had straps on his shoulder, saying he wanted us to have the perfect dance together. I was in shock. He told me he probably looked funny, but he wanted to dance with me. My sight level met his, and it was like we were standing face to face. He and his friend, who's the best man and little sister, arranged for this. Everyone was reacting to this, but Mum and Stepdad were upset. When we started dancing, my mum yelled at me to stop, saying we were embarrassing her in front of her guests. My stepbrother started laughing while Mum screamed at me to stop and called my husband immature. I immediately got into an argument with her, told her she was being mean and cruel instead of being happy for me. I told her to stop or leave. She lashed out, calling my wedding a joke. So I told her to leave. My stepdad defended her and said that my husband and I were being inappropriate. I insisted they both leave. Mum left after that. My stepdad berated me, saying I should be ashamed because my mum supported me and paid money. My aunt wanted me to apologize, but I wanted to focus on me and my husband, despite the family leaving and calling me disrespectful. My husband felt guilty, then said that it was a bad idea, but I assured him it was me who escalated by kicking my mum out, and everyone's been berating me for acting immature and mean towards my mum, saying they were being disrespected and humiliated. They didn't even congratulate us. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. This seems like a r/entitled parents kind of moment, but the way they're acting is honestly horrendous, and you deserve better on your special day. This has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you and your husband. If they're going to disrespect you and your husband, they need to be removed. It's as simple as that. And if other people think that they're being disrespected because of that, I don't think they should be there either. You really only should be surrounded by people that support you and your husband. Everyone else can go to hell for all I care. So for this, I'm going not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Obitadicta says, "He's my soulmate. I found him, finally." You're only 22 though. That aside, not the a-hole at all. Your husband and his family tried to do something nice, and your parents shat all over it. You were right to kick them out. Edit to clarify the 22 comment, because I kept getting the same responses over and over. The point isn't, OP is too young to know this is her forever thing. It's that finally makes it sound like she's been searching for ages, and like she's much older than she actually is, but she's only 22. Yeah, and they've been together for 2 years already. I agree though, not the a-hole at all. OP's mum even called the guests her guests, which shows pretty clearly who her mum thought the day was going to be about. Not the a-hole. Her guests? It was your wedding. Everyone there was your guest, not hers. She was acting way out of line. Not the a-hole, your mother is awful. I'm sorry that she behaved that way. You deserved better than your entire family displayed. And paying money doesn't mean that she bought the right to humiliate you and your husband at your wedding. Also, at least 10 years? Yikes, though. That said, finally, at 22 years old is a good sign of all the growing you have left to do. May you and he do it together with grace. And OP replies, "Yes, I'm 22, but I've dealt with so many issues in my life. The worst was my dad's passing. It broke me completely. Then having to adapt and learn to live not just without him, but with my step-family who can be extremely judging. Do you still have contact with his family? They might be more supportive for you than the rest of your family. I'd go low contact with your mum and step family if I were you. Absolutely this. I lost my mum when I was 11, and staying in contact with her family has been so wonderful. They really are so much more supportive and close, emotionally, not physically, than my dad's and stepmom's side. OP, I don't know if your dad's side of the family would be similarly supportive, but it might be worth reaching out to see. Just because he's gone doesn't mean that the people who loved him have to be too. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.